Which iPhone has the best battery life? And how long do the batteries on the new iPhone 12, 12 Pro, iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 Pro Max last compared to last year's iPhone 11 series? Hello guys, my name is Vic and welcome to PhoneArena and our ultimate iPhone battery test of 2020. On the table for this comparison, from the left to the right, we have first the iPhone SE, then the iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro and iPhone 11 Pro Max, and then we have the four new iPhones, the iPhone 12 mini, the iPhone 12, the iPhone 12 Pro, and finally the iPhone 12 Pro Max. You're also seeing the battery sizes on each of these phones. The iPhone SE and the iPhone 12 mini have the smallest battery cells, while the Max iPhones have the largest ones. And interestingly, the iPhone 12 Pro Max this year actually has a slightly smaller battery than last year's 11 Pro Max. By the way, if you want to see more such detailed comparisons, make sure to click that subscribe button. That's hugely appreciated as these tests really take quite a long while to complete. With all of this in mind, all iPhones are fully charged at 100%, and we have previously set the brightness on all of them at the same level for an equal playing field. So let's unplug them and kick off our battery test with its first component, web browsing. In the web browsing test, we have a script running the same set of web pages that refresh at a preset interval, and the phones are scrolling around meanwhile, so this simulates real-life use. If you're just browsing the web or just using social media, this test is a great representation of that lighter use case. For this and all other tests, we run the phones until they are dead and measure which one lasts the longest. But since the test often takes more than 10 hours, we cannot show you a real-time full run, and instead on your screen right now you're just seeing a simulated run. So with this in mind, let's fast things forward, and the first phone to die is the iPhone 11 Pro. The iPhone 11 Pro lasts 8 hours and 41 minutes on this test, a bit below the average. We still have many phones running, so let's once again fast forward time until the next one bites the dust, and that next one is the iPhone SE. The 2020 edition of the SE has the smallest battery of the bunch, but it lasts a very respectable 9 hours and 5 minutes on this test. Its lower resolution probably helps it run a bit longer than the 11 Pro here. Okay, let's keep on going until another phone dies, and fast forward, it is the iPhone 12 mini. The new mini is actually physically smaller than the iPhone SE, but it has a nearly 20% larger battery, and thanks to the new Apple A14 chip, it lasts a lot longer than the other small phones in this test, with a score of exactly 10 hours and 56 minutes. Nice job, Apple. Okay, let's move on and fast forward time once again until the next phone bites the dust, and that is the iPhone 11. Last year's super popular iPhone 11 scores 11 hours and 26 minutes, which is actually a pretty solid score, and now we're starting to talk really good battery life on these phones. We still have 4 phones left running though, with some juice left, so let's speed up the action until another one dies, and that is the iPhone 12. Apple's new mainstream iPhone scored 12 hours and 33 minutes, better than last year's model by nearly an hour on this test, which is quite good. And just moments after the 12, the iPhone 12 Pro also dies. The 12 and the 12 Pro have the same screen, same chip, and same battery size, so their actual battery life is pretty much identical. At this time, only the max-sized iPhones have gas left in the tank. Let's fast forward the tape and see which one does better. Who will be the winner? So, drum roll, and it is the iPhone 11 Pro Max that dies first, with a score of 12 hours and 54 minutes, leaving the iPhone 12 Pro Max as the winner in this test. It actually keeps on going for more than an hour, despite having a slightly smaller battery, and finally, it also dies with 14 hours and 6 minutes on the clock. That's a great score. So let's recap the scores in this test. The iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone SE were the first 2 phones to die at around 9 hours. The iPhone 12 mini outlasted them with nearly 11 hours on the scorecard, and then we have the iPhone 11, the 12s, and finally the Pro Max series winning this test. Okay, this was interesting, but we have 2 more to go, so let's switch to our YouTube Red background, because this time around we'll be testing how long these iPhones will last streaming the same playlist of YouTube videos non-stop. Again, we measure the time from 100% charge until the phones are completely dead, and once again you're seeing a simulated run and not the full one for brevity's sake. With this in mind, let's get this thing going and see which phone wins this round. So let's fast things forward in the beginning for viewing convenience until the first phone bites the dust, and that is the iPhone SE. This time around, the phone with the smallest battery lasts the shortest amount of time, with a score of just 4 hours and 45 minutes. That's not a great score. Let's keep on going though, and again, fast motion until the next phone dies, and that's the iPhone 12 mini. The 12 mini did well on the browsing test, but it dies quicker while watching videos, so that smaller battery definitely plays a role here. Let's keep on going, and all the other phones last quite a while longer. More than an hour, nothing happens until finally the next phone dies, and that is the iPhone 11 Pro, with a score of exactly 6 hours and 27 minutes. Decent, but not quite great. And just shortly after the 11 Pro, the iPhone 12 also dies with 6 hours and 38 minutes on the clock, and again just minutes after it, the iPhone 12 Pro. Let us once again remind you that these phones have the same chip, battery and everything else, so the battery life is also identical. There is indeed no real difference in their battery life. So we have 3 phones still left running. Let's see which dies next. And that is the iPhone 11. It finishes the test with a score of 7 hours and 13 minutes. At this point in time, again, only the 2 big iPhones are left running, and they actually last quite a bit longer, so let's fast forward again until one of them dies, and that is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. While it won the browsing test, it actually succumbs to the 2nd place for video playback with a score of 8 hours and 37 minutes, while the iPhone 11 Pro Max is still running strong. So let's wait it out, and finally it also finishes the test with a final score of 8 hours and 58 minutes. Last year's iPhone 11 Pro Max is still the longest lasting one for YouTube playback, and it lasts nearly twice as long as the iPhone SE. Take a look at this chart where we recap the results for this round. And finally, we have our 3D gaming test. This one is quite different from the other tests, as it really shows what the phone chips are capable of. Don't forget that you're seeing a simulated run. Let's get going and see which one wins it. So with this in mind, let's fast things forward until one of the phone dies, and the first one to do so is the iPhone 12 mini here, with just 2 hours and 22 minutes on the clock. Whoa, that was unexpected. Now we're testing with a specific set of games, and we noticed that on our test the new iPhone was warming up quite significantly, actually all 4 of them, which has never happened at such extent with other phones. It seems there's a problem with the particular games we're using for the test, but let's keep on going, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Fast forward, and the next phone to die is the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro, which bite the dust at nearly the same time, with just 3 hours and 1 minute on the clock. Again, a shockingly low score. Let's keep on going. And the next one to die is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now that's a real surprise. There really seems to be some problem with these phones and the games we use for testing. Even the older iPhone SE is still running, and that's just not right. But we have to keep on going, and let's fast forward until finally, yes, the iPhone SE bites the dust, but with a score of 4 hours and 59 minutes. We fast forward once again, and the next phone to die is the iPhone 11 Pro, with a score of 6 hours and 38 minutes. Now that's a decent score. We still have 2 phones running, and they have quite a bit of juice left. Finally, the iPhone 11 Pro Max dies first of the 2 with a score of 7 hours and 30 minutes. And this means the iPhone 11 wins this round. The lower resolution seems to help, and we'll let it run until it also finally dies at 7 hours and 37 minutes after the beginning of the test. What a round! So let's recap. The new iPhones did really poorly. It seems that the A14 is just running wild with the games that we use. We had to investigate what's going on, and it just seems that some games are running crazy and others are just running fine. For example, Minecraft was getting the battery hot and draining it super fast, while Call of Duty Mobile was performing just fine with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, draining at about 15% an hour, which would give it a total battery life of nearly 7 hours. Reasonable. Now we hope Apple and game developers work on fixing those games that have issues sooner rather than later. Anyway, it's time for a conclusion. The iPhone 12 Pro Max scored great on our browsing test. It's slightly behind the iPhone 11 Pro Max in YouTube, and in real life, it's actually a stellar battery performer that would easily last you a day and a half or even two. The new iPhone 12 and 12 Pro actually for the most part beat last year's 11 Pro by a tiny bit, so there are some slight improvements in battery life. As to the regular iPhone 11, it's a stellar battery performer, but apart from its battery, we can't really recommend it with that lower resolution LCD screen, which looks especially bad compared to the new AMOLED screens on the iPhone 12 series. And finally, the cute and tiny iPhone 12 mini actually has a decent battery life for what it is, and it lasted longer than the iPhone SE. So that's about it for our ultimate 2020 iPhone battery test. Interesting results with a few surprises and some issues. So which iPhone are you planning to buy, or which one are you using right now? And are you happy with its battery life? Let us know in the comments, and meanwhile don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. My name is Vic, this is PhoneArena, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.